Hey guys, it's me today on the show. Old Uncle Joe Biden is getting heat for being creepy, and the media is ready to defend him. Trump says he's going to shut down the border. Beto says we now only have 10 years to live. Two naked people strolling down highways with video. One of them in Florida, oddly enough. And raging road rage moms in suburbia. Stick around. Let's get to it, shall we? So today we're going to get to some political news, some not so political, some funny. Well, most of it funny. And a little bit serious as well. Thanks for joining me today, guys. I appreciate it. What in the world is going on? My name is Rob Carson. Okay. So Donald Trump says he's going to cut off aid to Central and Southern American countries. Actually, just Central American countries. El Salvador, Guatemala, and Honduras. There's where people are coming from in these caravans. And this started happening years ago, and the reason why it became so big is because policy. That's it. It's not suddenly things are terrible. It's not suddenly there's some sort of a government coup. It's not suddenly anything. It is being funded and paid for by the Democrat Party. George Soros, most likely involved in this as well. And that's why it's happening. A fuse was lit during the Obama administration. Barack Obama took the cigarette, flicked it into the stream of gas coming out from the United States, and then it caught fire, and he walked calmly away from the explosion that is happening now. So Donald Trump says, what do we do about this? Well, how about shutting the southern border completely? You want to mess with us? We'll see.
Would you close the border to trade?
All trade. Mexico is making absolutely a fortune with the United States. They have a trade surplus of over $100 billion, which is far bigger than anybody understands. They've had it for many years, and either they're going to stop. They have the strongest immigration laws anywhere in the world, and we have the weakest, the most pathetic laws. Number one, Congress has to act. And number two, Mexico, they make so much money from the United States and so many other things, so many other assets. They have to grab it and they have to stop it. We have right now two big caravans coming up from Guatemala. Massive caravans walking right through Mexico. So Mexico's tough. They can stop them, but they chose not to.
Now, this morning, the president said that Mexico's starting to do a little bit more border security, because they're seeing it's going to get real. And this is the first time that this country has had a president do this. You think about this. You know, Mexico is a lot like one of those little sucker fish on a shark. You know, they kind of cling to the shark, they feed off the shark, and they are protected by the shark. I think I've made a pretty good analogy there with regard to Mexico. As far as cutting off travel and trade to Mexico, yeah. Even if it's for a day or two, Mexico is going to have to realize that the shark occasionally bites back. All right. And as far as the Central American countries of El Salvador, Guatemala, and Honduras, most of the aid that they get from the United States goes to the hierarchy, and very little of it gets to the people. So if you think this is going to impact the people greatly, not so much. The ideologues, political ideologues, and the political class, yeah. And maybe that's what it needs. Jet Johnson was the Homeland Security Secretary during the Obama administration, and despite what the media says, he says there's actually a crisis at the southern border.
Well, first, Mika, thanks for having me. A little bit of context here. When I was in office in Kirstjen Nielsen's job at her desk, I'd get to work around 6:30 in the morning, and there'd be my intelligence book sitting on my desk, the PDB, and also the apprehension numbers from the day before. And I'd look at them every morning. It'd be the first thing I'd look at, and I probably got too close to the problem. And my staff will tell you, if it was under 1,000 apprehensions the day before, that was a relatively good number. And if it was above 1,000, it was a relatively bad number, and I was going to be in a bad mood the whole day. On Tuesday, there were 4,000 apprehensions. I know that 1,000 overwhelms the system. I cannot begin to imagine what 4,000 a day looks like. So we are truly in a crisis.
What? A Democrat says that we're having a border crisis? What the hell? Yeah, for real. And it is 100,000 people a month coming across the border. Anywhere else, that would be a crisis. that would be an invasion. That would be very much like World War Z. A couple scenes of that movie kind of reminds me of. Nancy Pelosi this week kind of lost her train of thought. You know, there's a time in a politician's career when she's like 80 that maybe Walmart greeter is something she could consider, perhaps.
Honoring women in STEM, science, technology, education, and math. I told one of my favorite stories, which you've heard me tell, to be honoring them for their mathematical genius of women having the right to vote. It's about clean air, clean water.
Yeah.
Safety of our environment.
What is it? I've heard a PSA, the signs of stroke. Are we there yet?
Communication is improved at receiving people's suggestions, so they have to make an attack. They did the wrong thing. I'm very proud of the work of all 6 chairmen. Do you want me to name them? Adam Schiff.
Yeah, there you go.
Elijah Cummings.
Sure.
Jerry Nadler.
Hold
Maxine
that
Waters.
card up a little higher for me.
Richie Neal.
There you go.
And Foreign Affairs has a piece of this, Elliot Engel, as well.
Thank you, press sycophants. Thank you for helping old Aunt Nancy hold it together during a press conference. Not uncommon for her. Not uncommon for her to experience what most would consider brain flatulence. Brain flatulence. Coming up in a couple minutes, I'm going to tell you about Eric Holder, the former Attorney General of the United States, saying that America was never great. That's not funny. That's not funny. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez was once again held up in an MSNBC. It wasn't a round table. It was like a round room and a bunch of gobbledygook faculty lounge masturbatory content was had by all. Here, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is saying that the youth in this country and the world have no future whatsoever.
Restaurants, and it was in that experience, being shoulder to shoulder with undocumented busboys and chefs, with children, people my age that were basically in the same exact situation.
She waited tables for a couple of years, so now she's a world leader.
So many of the people that I worked with were college graduates who had a parent pass away or someone in their family.
Literally, this is her life experience, waiting tables before the age of 30.
I'm struck with an enormous medical issue, and it really became clear from that experience that our issues and our economic issues are...
And your meatloaf was cold? Okay, let's take that right back. Okay, sorry. Need some more coffee?
...systemic, and they're not an accident. They're a result of an economic system that enriches...
Are we going to have dessert today? Dessert tray? I hope you like peach cobbler.
...the few, an enormous amount at the cost of...
She learned a lot waiting tables.
...of the working class and middle...
Can you stop talking to them about their problems? And get to table number 2 over there. The guy's waiting for his Diet Coke.
You come out of the gate, you represent this district here in the Bronx and Queens. People got all sorts of issues. All sorts of issues.
Yeah.
And the first big issue you're doing...
Like Amazon leaving the area and the 25,000 jobs with it that paid $150,000 apiece.
It's a Green New Deal.
That was her fault.
Right.
So why this issue, front and center, first thing? What connects you to this?
So this issue is not just about our climate. First and foremost, we need to save ourselves, period.
Yes.
There will be no future for the Bronx. There will be no livable future for generations coming for any part of this country in a way that is better than the lot that we have today.
No, wait. I thought the world was going to end. Somebody told me the world was going to end, and my gosh, if you're going to promise that the world is going to end, you better make it end, missy. Now she's just saying things could be worse for generations to come. That's not much of a world-ending prediction. That's no fun. That's not Beto O'Rourke at a rally in El Paso.
You think about climate change, and at this point, there can be no shadow of a doubt that our own excesses and emissions and inaction politically...
There can be no shadow of a doubt. I think he's mixing his metaphors there.
And as a country and a democracy, where each of us comprise...
Got to put that hand in the pocket.
government
Very distracting.
have led to the warming that we've seen so far, 1 degree Celsius.
Wait. Is it warming? Is it cooling? Because it snowed here last weekend, and it doesn't do that.
Celsius just since 1980.
Not really.
And along this current
You're
trajectory, the fires, the droughts, the floods,
all of the things that happen pretty much every year on the planet and always have.
devastation that we are witnessing right now will only become profoundly worse. And those who will bear the consequences disproportionately are the
Don't tell me. African Americans, women, brown people.
generations that follow ours. And so you've got to ask yourself, how in the world do we find ourselves in this position?
Well, you made it up. That's how. You pretty much just kind of made it up, and that's how you found yourself in that position.
And I direct you to Valencia from Florida, whose question I just listened
Valencia from Florida. I believe that those are also the names of oranges grown in Florida.
to. Backstage, how does this first world country create second-class citizens who face third world conditions?
Wow. Valencia came up with that. Sure she did. Yeah.
Let me take you to the state of Texas.
No, don't. No, I'd rather not go, actually. You go ahead. We'll catch up.
And so if we are going to confront any of these challenges, whether it's challenges to the economy or a system of healthcare or public education or confronting climate change before it is too late within the 10 years that we have left to us to act.
Well, wait. You said the world is ending in 10 years, so... Okay. The other day you said we had 12 years till the end of the world. We started to act now, and now we're saying if you don't act after 10 years, then you'll only have 2 years. This is getting a little confusing. I want to know when we're all going to die.
And the single greatest mechanism...
Like a kind of plan a vacation or something. It's like, hey, honey, we're going to go to the Bahamas for our retirement in 13 years. What? Okay, well, we'll have to retire early then because the world's going to end.
that humankind has ever devised to call forth the power of the people, a democracy, must be fixed.
Okay. You know, is that much of an optimistic campaign for the future that the world's going to end in 10 or 12 years? Yeah. I mean, literally went from 2007, from hope and change, to 2016. The world is going to end. The world is going to end. Here's a little bit more from the Green New Deal crowd.
But what we do is if we have basically the mirror image of a Trump rally on climate change, that we drive all the people away that could come our way and solve this thing now. And then could we come back to things like universal basic income? Could we?
This is just, it's all the communist socialist agenda.
Come back to health care?
Universal basic income isn't going to matter, and health care isn't going to matter if the world ends in 10 years.
Because, I was in 2 Congresses that were totally consumed by health care.
You got to think if the government takes over health care and the world's going to end in 10 years, they're not going to fix anything. They're going to you've got a treatable condition that you can stay alive for 20 years. Well, forget about it. Just let it go.
You can't do it in a single Congress.
Here's a living wage before you die.
The entire Green New Deal. It is literally impossible.
No,
with
you
the
can't.
number of committee references that you would have in the course of that. So is it possible that we say, listen, climate change is the thing that we're seeing the whites of its eyes. We've got to act now.
Whites of its eyes.
Can we come back?
It's kind of racist.
Maybe to universal basic income a little bit later?
Okay. No, we can't. Because people got to make some money before they get destroyed. Here is Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, AOC, talking about economic injustice, which isn't really injustice. It's that some people work really hard and some people quit school and some people don't work really hard. And yeah, there are some people who are born into wealth and that happens, but most of us work our way up.
Our industrial capacity in American manufacturing to deploy all the resources of our entire society, not just our money, but our ingenuity to tackle this crisis and to do so in a way that grows our economy and that gives people a share in that new wealth and that new growth.
I think
Now, how's that going to happen? Where's that money going to come from?
See, there's a little bit of like the combination Taco Bell Pizza Hut situation here. It's like, it's cool they're together, but do they need to be together?
They do.
Like,
They do.
That's quite
It's not like
an
that
analogy you
situation
made there.
at all, because here's the deal. Here's the deal.
Is this the deal?
We could solve all of the environmental issues in the world if those climate policies and solutions are drafted onto the existing framework of economic injustice. Then we will perpetuate our social problems. And so even if you do pass, and the yellow vests in France are a perfect example of what happens when you do not address economic and social justice in the same sweep as climate policy, because what happens is that A, the policy becomes unsustainable, B, society
your
starts
policy
to
is
fall
going to become
apart, which is
unsustainable.
what happens in income inequality.
Yeah. She just literally just said nothing. This is faculty lounge, mental masturbation. That's what this is all about. Wow. Just wow. Speaking of something that'll make you say, wow, how about Dots Pretzels, everybody? All right, that was a really bad segue. But they're really awesome pretzels. Dots Pretzels were originally made in North Dakota. A woman named Dot. Yeah, she made them for her family. Family said, Dot, these are the greatest pretzels in the history of mankind. Or in your case, womankind. We got to crowdfund. We got to build a company. And they did. Built a plant in North Dakota, built a plant in Arizona, built a plant right here in Kansas City. It's like living near Willy Wonka's chocolate factory for me, ladies and gentlemen. Literally about 5 miles from the Dots Pretzel Company factory. They've told me not to come within 50 feet of the front gate. I've gotten to be a little bothersome. Anyway, the best pretzels ever. DotsPretzels.com if you can't find them in a store near you, if you're in the I-29 corridor in the Midwest or in Arizona. Just order them online. DOTSpretzels.com, DOTSpretzels.com. Order a bunch of them because you're going to want them. They're awesome. The best pretzels you've ever had. Okay, so the Mueller investigation found no collusion. The American media, the mainstream media, not too happy about it. Rachel Maddow, she cried, lost 20% of her audience. CNN lost about 50% of their audience because they made their audiences believe this is all real. It's like Santa Claus is coming and he's going to bring you a lot of presents. Santa is coming. He's coming to town. And Christmas morning, little Rachel goes down in her bunny slippers or softball uniform. Anyway, she goes down and she gets there under the tree and there's no presents. Santa Claus, Santa Mueller Claus, whatever. Didn't bring anything. Who are you going to blame? Mommy MSNBC? Daddy CNN? Sure. You know? The majority of Americans now believe the special counsel's investigation into whether Donald Trump colluded with the Russian government to steal the election was, quote, politically motivated. Those are the American people. A sharp increase from when the poll was last conducted in January. This comes from CBS News. Conducted between March 25th and March 26th, found 54% of respondents believe the investigation by special counsel Robert Mueller was politically motivated compared to 37% who believe it was justified. The poll was previously conducted in January. At that time, found 50% of respondents believed the investigation was justified. 45% said it was politically motivated. Said the poll also found that 34% of respondents feel the Mueller report, which found no collusion and not enough evidence to charge Trump with obstruction. And there was no obstruction there, you see. Because there wasn't any evidence, then there's nothing there. So there was no obstruction of justice either. Let's just make that clear. Has cleared Trump, compared to 23% who say it hasn't cleared Trump. The kids are still sitting there with the Christmas tree up in July. Another 36% thinks it's too soon to say. CBS found 66% of Democrats want members of their party in Congress to continue investigating the matter. Meanwhile, the horse is still there. It's still dead, and you're just beating it. Further, the poll found that 50% of Democrats were disappointed in Mueller's findings. 69% of Republicans were pleased. Ding! More Americans, 44%, thought the investigation was conducted fairly than unfairly. 10% unfairly. 40% said it was too soon to say. Keep those Christmas trees up. Keep beating that dead horse with a club, you Democrats. Let's talk about creepy Uncle Joe. How about that? This is the column that started it all, right here. It's not really a column, it's just a piece of paper. Column would be more like this. Yeah. Okay, so 2014, this is Lucy Flores. I was the 35-year-old Democrat nominee for lieutenant governor in Nevada. The landscape wasn't looking good for my party that year. So when my campaign heard from Joe Biden's office that he was looking to help me and other Democrats in the state, I was grateful and I was flattered. And wouldn't you be? Because, like, he's the second most powerful man in the entire world, right? Right? Yeah. So here is a brief report from the UK Daily Mail, and then I'll read exactly what Lucy Flores had to say about Uncle Joe.
Former U.S. Vice President Joe Biden said he does not recall kissing a woman without her consent. On Sunday, the possible Democratic presidential candidate released a statement saying, quote, "In my many years on the campaign trail and in public life, I have offered countless handshakes, hugs, expressions of affection, support, and comfort. And not once, never, did I believe I acted inappropriately. If it is
it's not you that determines whether it's inappropriate there, buddy.
Suggested I did so, I will listen respectfully, but it was never my intention." The allegation
It wasn't my intention to rob the bank. I just happened to have the gun and a bag.
Against Biden came Friday by a Democratic Party activist who said Biden made her feel uncomfortable when he kissed her at a campaign event in 2014. Biden went on to say, "I may not recall these moments the same way, and I may be surprised at what I hear. But we have arrived at an important time when women feel they can and should relate their experiences, and men should pay attention, and I will." Biden has not yet said whether he will run for president in 2020.
He might be running from a pack of angry women, actually. I think that might be where he's running from next. Let's get back to the article and the sordid details, shall we? I found my way to a holding room for the speakers where everyone was chatting, taking photos, getting ready to speak to the hundreds of voters in the audience just before the speeches. We were ushered to the side of a stage where we were lined up by order of introduction. By the way, she said earlier that day she was exhausted. She decided not to wash her hair the morning of the rally, sprayed some dry shampoo in the hair, raced off to the airport, then to Vegas. As I was taking deep breaths and preparing myself to my case to the crowd, I felt two hands on my shoulders. I froze. Why is the Vice President of the United States touching me? I felt him get closer from me, to me from behind. He leaned further in and inhaled my hair. I was mortified. I thought to myself, I didn't wash my hair today. I know I'd feel the same way about, of all the days that I'm going to get molested by a politician, it's the day that I didn't wash my hair. How embarrassing as a Democrat. And the Vice President of the United States is smelling it. And also, what in the actual F-bomb? That's what she said. She said the word. Why is the Vice President of the United States smelling my hair? He proceeded to plant a big, slow kiss on the back of my head. My brain couldn't process what was happening. I was embarrassed. I was shocked. I was confused. There was a Spanish saying, "Tragame tierra." Nailed it. It means earth swallow me whole. I couldn't move, couldn't say anything. I wanted nothing more than get Biden away from me. My name was called, and I was never happier to get on stage in front of an audience before. But I have never experienced anything so blatantly inappropriate and unnerving before. Biden was the second most powerful man in the country and arguably the most powerful man in the world. He was there to promote me as the right person for a lieutenant government job. Instead, he made me feel uneasy, gross, and confused. And he's been doing that for years. We've all seen pictures of Uncle Joe hugging and kissing and, squeezing and inappropriately touching and kissing people on the back of the head and stuff like that. But, of course, the media was going to have none of it. And that's why I'm going to play my very first media montage of the day defending creepy old Uncle Joe.
There's a lot of things I know about Joe Biden. I've known him for a long time. He is extremely affectionate.
He's very affectionate. I find oddly affectionate. He kisses people on the mouth. He shouldn't. He's always touching people's shoulders.
I've seen him rub the shoulders of women and men.
Joe Biden calls them expressions of affection.
He is an affectionate, old-school politician.
Uncle Joe, as we affectionately call him, he's a very affectionate, very likable person.
So it's not surprising that he behaves in this way, that he's quite affectionate.
He's just affectionate. I mean, Bill Clinton was affectionate. He just liked privacy more. He liked to be in a hotel room alone with the woman being affectionate and a couple state troopers outside guarding it.
Oh, he's just an affectionate guy.
Just an affectionate guy.
I've known Joe Biden a long time, as have many others.
Al Franken, he's just affectionate. Harvey Weinstein, lovable old dude.
And have always found him a very emotional man who is very, very affectionate.
Everyone in Washington knows that he is a guy who is very affectionate.
He's touchy-feely. He's been doing it his entire life in an affectionate way.
He's a very affectionate person.
We should have done the affectionate drinking game today. Gosh darn it. What was I thinking? We could go get plastered in about 5 minutes.
He suffers from being overtly affectionate.
To say that, Biden should change the way he is or that he needs to be less affectionate, I think is a problem. That's part of who he is.
I think the next time I see Joe Biden, if he doesn't hug me and give me a kiss and
I'm going to grab him by the ass and slap him.
My hand, that's not the Joe Biden I knew. He's a nice guy.
And
he's not a predator. And this is ridiculous. Let me just say it. This is ridiculous.
There you go. Thank you, Grabian News, for all those wonderful clips. You guys are awesome. Thank you. Thank you. At least one person on CNN, Iran Carmen, says that Uncle Joe needs to just get the hell out of the way.
Will, Irina, I want to start with you here because you've been very vocal over the weekend on this. And we've heard from people voicing both sides of this today, which is number one, this is really nothing, people should move on. Or number two, this needs to be taken seriously.
Well, John, when I just saw you in makeup and I came behind you and I sniffed your hair and I put my hands on your shoulder, it was totally cool, right? I mean, look, I think that this should be viewed in context, right? It is not, no one is making a criminal allegation, but the context of it, to my mind, is that
he didn't get all rapey. He just got affectionate.
The Democratic Party is animated right now by women. And the context is Joe Biden's career of paternalistic attitudes and policies towards women in the guise of protecting them that he has even now into
I'll protect you, baby. Now, come here and give me a kiss.
His 70s not interrogated. Now, there may be people who are thrilled to have Joe Biden be affectionate towards them. That's great. But making the assumption that somebody who is a political colleague of yours wants their hands on them means that you have not thought about how the other person feels about this. And saying things like, Anita Hill, I wish I could have done something, when you were the chairman of the committee, speaking about women seeking abortions as if you're their father and you want them to not be scared and abortion is always wrong.
And if it could be my baby, I think you ought to go ahead and get it done, honey.
You're trafficking in racial backlash policies. To me, if I were close to Joe Biden, and I think he has a long career of public service to be proud of, but if I were close to him, I would say, Joe, quit while you're ahead. It's not your time.
Yeah, it's not your time. Because generally when you're going to be 79 years old in time for the election, maybe it's about time. Do you hear that Mick Jagger's going to have heart surgery this summer? Did you hear that? Well, he's going to have heart surgery now, and then he's going to be back on stage this summer. There is no justice for Mick Jagger. Keith Richards has been doing coke and whatever for years. Does he have to have surgery? No. The athletic guy who doesn't drink has to have surgery. There's no justice. There's no justice. Godspeed, Mr. Jagger. We want to see you keep moving like Jagger, for lack of a better expression. All right. Let's talk a little bit about Eric Holder in an interview last weekend about America being great. And this could get a little serious because, you don't be saying that about my country.
Generation to a lesser degree than people in my generation, but it is still there.
In our limited time left, I want to do redistricting. You're taking all of this experience you have and you're focused on redistricting. Why?
Redistricting happens every 10 years. It'll happen in 2021. If you care about reproductive rights, if you care about criminal justice reform.
Which, by the way, Donald Trump's doing right now, big time. And as far as reproductive rights, that's just about killing babies.
If you care about health care, if you care about protecting the right to vote, stopping voter suppression, all of those things ultimately are dependent on who is in our state legislatures. And we have these gerrymandered state legislatures. You look at Wisconsin, for instance, Democrats got 54% of the vote.
Yeah, but look at New York.
Only 30.
And Chicago.
36% of the seats.
And Philadelphia.
In the Wisconsin.
And Los Angeles.
State legislature. That overly Republican Wisconsin state legislature
can't be having Republicans
does a whole
win everywhere
variety
or
of things.
anywhere.
Tries to shorten the number of days that people can vote.
Get your ass to the polls.
Crazy positions when it comes to reproductive rights.
There we go again.
Pass sane gun safety measures.
What is the reproductive rights? It's saying let a baby live that's inside of you.
If you care about those individual issues, my job is to try to make people understand that they are directly tied to redistricting.
So to you, this is bigger than any of those other policy issues you mentioned because it's underneath all of them.
It's the foundation for all of those other concerns. And it is, from my perspective, this whole question of making sure that everybody has the opportunity to vote and that their vote gets counted in an appropriate way. That's the civil rights issue, I believe, of our time.
There's a lot of talk about America being a leader as a democracy, quote unquote, in the 1800s when women and African Americans couldn't vote. What kind of democracy is that?
Oh, that's exactly right. And that's when I hear these things about...
Yeah, and every country in the world has its sins, and some of them continue to sin, like Saudi Arabia, like Nigeria, like Afghanistan.
Let's make America great again. And I think to myself, well, exactly when did you think America was great? It's certainly...
Okay, there's the money shot. There it is right there. Let's cue that up again,
exactly
shall
right.
we?
And that's when I hear these things about let's make America great again. And I think to myself, well, exactly when did you think America was great? It certainly wasn't when people were enslaved. It certainly wasn't when women didn't have the right to vote.
Okay, that's all sorts of pandering. We've had our sins. We have committed many sins. Slavery was the way of the world when our country was founded. Did you realize that many of the states in the United States at the time, before 1700, they weren't states officially, they were colonies, were anti-slavery, and slavery was not legal. It was not universal in the United States. It wasn't. But it was the way of the world. As far as America has never been great, how did we become the greatest engine for individual and economic freedom in the history of the world? We are the biggest element of change in the history of mankind for the better. We essentially saved the world twice last century from dictatorial regimes that would have ruled the world in darkness. We fought wars with countries, we signed peace agreements, we helped rebuild them. We invented rock and roll. We invented the airplane. We invented Bugs Bunny cartoons. That's pretty cool. We flew to the moon. No other country has flown to the moon. Not only did we fly to the moon, last time we were there, we played golf on it. Yeah, it's like, okay, world, hey, I know you guys haven't been up here, but damn, in this gravity, your 300-yard drive, about 70 miles. You've got to play golf here on the moon. Seriously, you guys ought to get your stuff together and come and play golf with us because we're playing golf on the moon right now. I don't think I need to say anything else about America being great because it was great, and this doofus for focusing on the sins of the past rather than all the good this country has done and saying because of that, America was never great. You're just a douche. You're just a douche. You're just a douche. Let's move on to other stuff. And I know I've got some other stuff. Oh, Jussie Smollett was made fun of. Jussie Smollett did not get his Image Award from the NAACP, apparently. He was going to get Best Supporting Actor. Not for the whole, pretending that he was beat up, but he actually has a role on a TV show. Here's SNL going after Smollett being late to a meeting with producers for his show.
Oh, okay, good. So you believe me?
No! What is wrong with you, man?
I just told you I was attacked.
He meant mentally, Jussie.
Mr. Daniels, can I have a word with my client for a second?
Yeah, I think you should.
Okay. Jussie.
Don't worry, I got some hits in too. I'm still the gay Tupac.
Okay, nobody knows what that means. So you can see why this story's a little hard to believe, right?
Great. My own manager doesn't believe me. Wait, what the?
What is that?
I don't know. I think it's a bag of clues.
No, Jussie, please, don't.
Hang on. Look, guys. The killer. He left me a bunch of clues.
What killer?
You're still alive, Jussie.
It's only because I fought back, because I'm the gay Mike Tyson.
You see what we mean? Yeah. We can't keep this guy around.
Wait, let's just see what's in here first, okay? Crest white strips. Whoa, what do you think that means?
I don't know. Maybe it's because you're black.
Yo, you think it's racial? Damn.
Oh, Jussie, please, just stop.
There's more. A K? Another K? 3 Ks? Like, what do you think that means?
It's probably the Ku Klux Klan, Jussie.
Really? I thought that was a myth. Jussie. Hang on, there's more stuff. Oh, it's a receipt. I need that.
Gotta write it off.
Keys, definitely dope. Ooh, a Teletubby? And it's the gay one.
There you go. Okay, so at least SNL's willing to address it. Oh, and also, Chris Rock kind of went after Jussie on stage, too.
An award that said no Jussie Smollett jokes. Yeah, I know. What a waste of light skin, you know? You know what I could do with that light skin? That curly hair, my career would be out of here! I'm fucking running Hollywood! Yes, no, just... What the hell was he thinking? From now on, I ain't never gonna know just... You're Jussie from now on. You don't even get the you no more.
Okay. All right. DNC Chair Tom Perez says that everybody who supports Trump are cowards. I don't know why that is. Let's circle back to politics here real quick. Why exactly is everybody in Congress who supports the president cowards?
But the thing is, they are cowardly. I mean, history will not only judge Donald Trump harshly, it will judge Mitch McConnell.
How will history judge him harshly? We get it. You don't like Donald Trump. But he's crushed ISIS, stopped North Korea from shooting missiles over the South China Sea, brought China to the table with regard to trade, redone NAFTA, lowest black unemployment rate in recorded history, lowest Hispanic, more women in the workforce. Let's see what else. Economy is roaring, whereas it was just treading water. More people in the workforce. Unemployment rate basically is 0% for people who can actually work. All right. I could go on and on. How is history going to judge him harshly? Oh, yeah. And then the whole Mueller thing, the whole Russia investigation, he didn't collude.
And Paul Ryan and all the other cowards who refused to stand up.
You're a coward sitting in a public forum and throwing rocks
To this president and allowed the party of Lincoln to die. They will be judged harshly because whatever he says goes right
now. Now, let me ask you this. The party that supports all of the things that I just mentioned, all the goodness that has happened, versus the party that is embracing letting millions of people cross our border illegally. The party that is for unrestricted abortion. Okay? The party that is in favor of government-run health care. The party that says the world is going to end 10 years from now. Which party do you suppose is going to be judged a little harsher? You know? I'm thinking the latter. The latter. Here's a great sponsor, by the way. We've got a great sponsor, and that is, pardon me, lost my graphic. Here we go, Pit Barrel Cookers. Pit Barrel Cookers, sorry about that. I have to be the technical director and all that stuff, so occasionally I miss something. But Pit Barrel Cookers are awesome. I've got a couple of them. They're marvelous. We've got a classic and a junior. If you're watching there, you'll see the Pit Barrel Classic on the left. It's about a 25, 30-gallon drum that is specially coated so the heat will never affect the exterior or the interior, and it will last you a long, long time. You can grill traditionally. You can smoke meats. You can hang meats in there and smoke them. You can see right there that there's some meats that I have done, including pork butt on the top left, brisket on the bottom, ribs up top, burgers on the bottom, all of that out of Pit Barrel Cooker. About $300 will get you a classic to your house. About $300. You can add accessories. You can add some of their rubs for their meats, the hooks, all of the accessories. Oh, it's unbelievable. PitBarrelCooker.com. PitBarrelCooker.com. Back to the show. I wanted to mention, I've got a couple very weird stories coming up here. Road rage, women fighting on the road, naked people walking on the road, a guy with a trouser snake, and much more. This is kind of interesting. This piece out of Vox, and it's from a leftist columnist, Saul Loeb. Our emotional devastation over Trump winning the election drove us so insane we believe the Russian collusion story. This is pretty interesting. Vox Media feels it has the answer as to why the left missed that the allegation was so thinly substantiated. They did an interview with Rolling Stone writer Matt Taibbi, who claims the Russian collusion spectacle was the worst media mistake in history, and it was. Both Vox reporters Sean Illing and Taibbi agree the left was far too devastated in the weeks following Trump's election to think straight. And it went on for 2 years. A lot of people simply did not want to believe that Trump was a legitimate president, that someone this vulgar and dishonest could win a presidential election. And, by the way, he beat Hillary Clinton. That also had something to do with it. And I think that disbelief and emotional devastation of his election colored a lot of our judgments. Absolutely. Look, almost every pundit failed to see what was happening during the presidential election. No one thought this guy could win. It was almost 100% consensus in the industry. Nobody even accepted it as an idea that could possibly win. And a lot of people had that had to do with the insularity of the media. Then he became president. The instantaneous reaction was to declare his presidency illegitimate and foreign aided. That doesn't mean all of these stories were made up, of course. But I think there was a deep need to make sense of it all. But it goes beyond the media. It goes to Hillary Clinton's campaign. It goes to the dossier. It goes to real Russian collusion between the Hillary Clinton State Department and Uranium One and Russian oligarchs. It's much bigger than that. The left repeatedly admitted that Trump simply wasn't disagreeable, that his mere presence in the White House was actually harmful, and psychologists and liberal enclaves diagnosed patients with things like Trump anxiety disorder. That's TAD. And post-election depression. The insanity was real, but it was also the product of continued belief among the media, who failed to vet stories, ran with unsubstantiated allegations, and occasionally fell for total hoaxes. But CNN and MSNBC are not giving up, despite even Vox saying, we were really screwed up. We were really messed up. All right, let's get into some of the fun weirdness, shall we? How about suburban soccer moms fighting it out on highways in Massachusetts? Check this out. She's saying, you took the last box of Chardonnay at the liquor store. How dare you? How dare you? You made me late for my daughter's dance recital. What do you think you're doing, you mother? Well, you are a mother. You know, you bumped my van. You put a scratch on the Sienna. Now I'm going to scratch your eyes out. There it is. Stopping traffic on a road in Massachusetts. The death of civility happened last Thursday. A quiet funeral will be this weekend. Yeah, civility's been dying for a very long time. Here's a shocking moment when, let me see if I can find this. I think I loaded it. No, let's move on. Let's move on to Trouser Snake. Trouser Snake. This is pretty funny. So there was a Love My Pets store. I Love My Pets store in Michigan. There's a guy in the store standing around, just waiting around, acting kind of suspiciously. Nobody really noticed. He paid $6 for a rat. Generally, if somebody pays $6 for a rat, they're going to need something to feed it to, right? Unless you're really into eating rats. And so he decided to steal a 6-foot python and put it in his pants. And here's the surveillance footage. He's right there behind that cage. See him? Okay, there he is with a little worried face. And he's going to put the trouser snake into his pants. Here it comes. By the way, happened about 5:40 p.m. Employees said he'd been walking around asking about snakes when then stole it and they left him. Employee Emily Shuey said she wished the snake had bitten him. She was uncertain of the suspect's motives as the snake was only worth about $100. Other employees were baffled at how surprised he was calm after, even with the pants. And there, see that, yeah, The snake's in his pants there. He's walking off with the snake in his pants. Of all the things you could steal. Okay. Finally, a couple of naked stories. Naked people in traffic. Florida is known for being crazy, right? Florida is known for being crazy. Naked woman spotted on a road in Florida. Watch how calmly she crosses traffic like the Frogger frog, except for she's a naked woman.
Oh my God, the shit that goes on here freaking on 95.
Wow.
Whoa. Oh my God, the shit that goes on here freaking on 95.
Now, that's a common reaction when you see naked people. And here's another instance of nakedness on the highway. This actually happened in San Antonio.
Oh my gosh. What the heck?
Is that, are those tennies?
Are those what?
Wow. Are those frozen tennies?
Are those?
Did you see that?
Did you call 911?
I didn't call 911.
Again, the initial reaction, very similar in both instances.
Oh my gosh.
Well, except for, he said, oh my gosh. Here's the other one. And again, the same reaction. Here it is.
Oh my God, the shit that goes on here freaking on 95.
All right. Oh, my goodness. Did you enjoy the show today? I hope you did. I enjoy doing it for you. Want to thank the Range for being a big supporter. If you'd help out Range Broadcasting, that would be great. We're adding sponsors. If you'd like to sponsor a show and reach a lot of people with really good content, well, you can write me, Carson on the Radio at gmail.com, Carson on the Radio at gmail.com. Thank you guys for joining me. I do greatly appreciate it. Have a glorious day, and we will see you next time on What in the World is Going On with Rob Carson. See you guys.